Cryptids. I've heard of them. You've likely heard of them considering you clicked on this video. It seems that everyone and their grandma has their own grainy and shaky video of Bigfoot nowadays. But what if we analyze these cryptids from the stories that cement their history to determine their strength and danger level? In this video, I'm going to be placing 10 of the most well-known and some personal favorite cryptids into a tier list based on size, strength, abilities, and power. This is the Cryptid Power tier list. First things first, let's establish some rules. Cryptids are infamous for having extremely complex histories, and to sift through every supposed encounter would be far too messy. That being said, I'm only going to be taking into account the stories that I consider to be core information for each of these cryptids. Many of these cryptids also have multiple descriptions that can vary a lot. In these cases, I'm only going to be considering one of their supposed descriptions. Lastly, these rankings are simply my opinion, so if you disagree, let me know in the comments below. Before we begin, for those who don't know, cryptids are creatures that are said to exist in the wild, but have little concrete proof, or are heavily disputed. Some famous examples are Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. Now before further ado, let's begin with the video. Here's a little breakdown of the tiers I have set up currently. At the top we have maximum danger cryptids. These cryptids pose the highest level of threat considering their abilities and make them stand out above the rest. Then we have the very dangerous tier. Cryptids in this tier exhibit a high level of danger, but simply miss or lack some abilities that would put them in the highest tier. Then we have our dangerous tier, which is going to be your standard cryptid tier, as most cryptids in their own way are dangerous. Then we have the little danger tier. While these cryptids can still be dangerous, they likely pose little to no threat to humans. Then we have the no danger tier. These cryptids in no shape, way, or form pose a threat to humans. Moth Man originates from the town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. On November 15, 1966, two couples claimed to see a large black creature with, quote, glowing red eyes. According to these sources, the creature was a slender, muscular man that stood about 7 feet tall and had white wings. It's said that the creature had hypnotic eyes, which made it difficult for them to discern any concrete details. Over the next few days, several other sources claimed that they had also seen the creature. One woman stated that the creature reminded her of an abnormally large heron, and said that its eyes glowed like traffic reflectors. But by far the biggest and most controversial feat of Mothman would come on December 15, 1967, when the Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant collapsed, causing the death of 46 people. According to some rumors, Mothman was spotted at the bridge prior to the collapse. The controversy surrounding Mothman is the idea that it either acts as a warning sign for disasters to come, or it causes these disasters to happen. For this reason, it's going to be a little difficult to judge Mothman's abilities, as he's been reported near tsunamis, earthquakes, and other natural disasters. But we simply don't know from its established lore if these disasters are actually caused by Mothman. I'd rather not speculate on the idea, so I'm going to say for my ranking that I believe he acts more of an omen for disasters to come, rather than the catalyst behind these disasters. That being said, Mothman is still able to fly at 100 miles per hour, and stands somewhere between 7 to 10 feet tall. So to say that this creature does not pose a threat would be a complete lie. Not to mention it also has been described as having vision blurring effects through its eyes. With all these considerations, I'm going to throw Mothman into our dangerous tier. I considered putting it in very dangerous, but there really isn't enough clear evidence to suggest that Mothman could kill a human. And the idea that the beast caused the Silver Bridge to collapse is simple speculation. If we were to speculate and say that Mothman does cause these disasters to happen, then obviously I would put it in the maximum danger tier. Moving on, we have Skunk Ape. Skunk Ape is a bipedal humanoid creature. It's described as ape-like and shares many similarities with its cousin cryptid, Bigfoot. Skunk apes have been described as standing anywhere between 5 to 8 feet tall, so its size is incredibly varied depending on who you ask. But typically they're noted as being smaller than Bigfoot. It also carries with it an extremely disgusting odor of wet dog mixed with rotten eggs, hence the name Skunk Ape. The origin of Skunk Ape is a controversial one, as some would say it started with the Florida native Seminole people, who had a legend of a creature known as Esti Jebjaki, which translates to tall man. According to their legend, the tall man was a large, hairy creature who had a disgusting odor. The creature was incredibly secretive, but the natives expressed the fact that they were dangerous to be around. Another origin of Skunk Ape lies in 1929, when a man reported a large hairy beast attacking his bat tower in Key West, Florida. It's unknown to this day why the beast attacked a newly implemented bat tower, but it's said that the creature had enough strength to shake the tower back and forth. The structure in question is known as the Sugarloaf Key Tower, which stands at an impressive 30 feet in height, so to move such a massive structure would take a large amount of physical prowess. Many of the reports indicate that Skunk Ape possesses incredible strength, as they've been noted as being able to push down barbed wire fences, possess enough power to kill bulls, as well as shrug off being hit by cars. If skunk apes are real, they'd also exhibit an impressive stealth skill, as Florida stands as one of the most populated states in the US, yet they are rarely seen. When taking into account the skunk ape's nearly superhuman-like strength and stealth, I'm going to throw it into the very dangerous tier. I don't believe there's enough to put this thing in the maximum danger tier, as in some reports it has been harmed by cars as well as scared off by guns. If you'd like a more in-depth history of Skunk Ape, I have a video on my channel that I'll link in the description below. I feel that Bigfoot requires little to no introduction, so I'll keep it short. The history of Bigfoot dates all the way back long before cryptids were even a thought. One of the earliest sightings came from Spanish explorers in the 16th century who talked about dark watchers that would stalk them in the night and were incredibly tall. The name of Bigfoot originates in 1958 when a bulldozer operator in Six Rivers National Park, California, noticed large sets of footprints appearing overnight on their job sites. The workers began to joke around about the footprints and started calling the culprit Bigfoot. From here, the craze of Bigfoot took the nation by storm, and today he's one of, if not the most popular cryptid of all time. As far as Bigfoot's power goes, the creature has also demonstrated incredible strength that I'd argue topples that of Skunk Ape. According to reports, it's able to kill the likes of cows and tear the heads off of deer. It's also been described as standing between 6 to 10 feet in height. With all this information considered, I'm going to throw it into the very dangerous tier, in front of Skunk Ape. It shares many traits with its smelly cousin, but has the edge in size and strength. The Chupacabra, or goat sucker, originates from the small town of Mocha, Puerto Rico. In 1975, there was a series of livestock killings that the locals attributed to a cult. Each animal had seemingly been drained of its blood through 2 small puncture holes. Then in 1995, a woman would supposedly witness the creature in the town of Canavanes after roughly 150 livestock and pets had been drained of their blood. The Chupacabra has a complicated appearance, as 2 different popular descriptions have been proposed. The first one states that the creature stands like a kangaroo at about 4 feet tall and has leathery, almost alien-like skin and a rows of quills on its back. Another popular description is a little more mundane and says that the Chupacabra is a 4-legged dog-like creature with a pronounced spine and very little hair. I think either way, both of these descriptions are going to have me put the Chupacabra into the very dangerous tier. The fact that they're able to kill off livestock with incredible stealth and efficiency leads me to believe if the Chupacabra wanted, it could attempt to hunt humans. I'm going to avoid putting it in the maximum danger tier, as there simply isn't enough reported human attacks, and the beast itself is described to be smaller than a typical American 4th grader. If this beast were a bit bigger, I'd consider putting it higher on the list. Now for a cryptid that's one of my personal favorites. In the year of 1972, a Loveland, Ohio police officer was on his nighttime patrol. At around 1 a.m., the officer witnessed a massive humanoid frog dart out in front of his vehicle. According to the cop, the creature was hunched over like a frog, had leathery skin, and stood somewhere between 3 to 4 feet in height. Roughly 2 weeks after this incident, another officer would see a creature hunched over on the side of the road. In response, the cop shot it, but to everyone's surprise, the officer claimed that the beast turned out to be a massive iguana that had likely escaped captivity nearby. No evidence of this claim has ever been confirmed. Despite this rather closed story, some still believe that the original Frogman sighting was an isolated incident, and that the creature still roams Ohio to this very day. This photo also surfaced in 2016, which pictures what seems to be the Frogman standing in waist-high water. According to the photographer, Sam Jacobs, he spotted the creature while playing Pokemon Go with his girlfriend in Loveland, Ohio. Sam swears that the photograph is legit to this very day. That being said, the Loveland frog has been described as being quite fearful of humans, and hasn't demonstrated any abilities to defend itself other than hopping away at a quick speed. It's also worth mentioning that while the beast is large compared to other frogs, it doesn't compare in size to an average human. With all this taken into consideration, I'm going to have to throw the Loveland frog into the no danger tier.
What? No, dude!
The Jersey Devil is an extremely popular legend from the eastern United States. According to legend, a woman named Mother Leeds had 12 children. Before her 13th child, she declared that her next baby would be taken by the devil himself, as she did not want it. Then after Mother Leeds had given birth to that 13th child, it suddenly changed into a hideous beast. The creature had a forked tail, bat wings, hoof feet, and a goat's head. The beast let out a horrific scream and attacked everyone within the home with its tail, then flew out the chimney and into the pine trees nearby. Early reports of the Jersey Devil stated that it could sustain being hit by a cannonball and suffer no harm. It was also blamed for killing several local livestock in New Jersey in 1840. For years, the beast has haunted the state of New Jersey, supposedly responsible for destroying loads of crops, terrorizing citizens, and rampaging through towns. Some claim the devil is simply a figment of the imagination, while others fully stand behind its existence. Now let's analyze the beast. According to sources, the beast flies at a speed that is simply too fast for hunters to hit. Considering the average duck flies at a speed of 40 to 60 miles per hour, it's not far-fetched to say that the beast likely travels quite a bit faster than that, as humans routinely hunt ducks. Also worth mentioning is the fact that the Jersey Devil was supposedly struck with a cannonball. That must have been an incredibly lucky shot, but according to the story, the Jersey Devil remained unscathed. This feat is extremely impressive, as medieval cannonballs were known for being able to travel through upwards of 40 men. Bounties have also been placed on the creature, yet no one has been able to kill it and provide clear proof. That being said, I think the beast clearly deserves to be in the maximum danger tier. While it's unaware as to what its intentions are, it's safe to say that if the Jersey Devil did want to cause havoc and destruction, it could do so fairly easily. The Yeti is a cryptid that I'm sure most of you have heard of in some shape or form. The origin comes from the Lepcha people, who spoke of a species called glacier giants, which were large humanoid beasts that roamed the snowy mountains of Nepal. Fast forward to 1959, and a group of skiers were tragically killed on an area now known as Dyatlov Pass. Some of them had died from hypothermia, while others had sustained bone-crushing injuries that would have taken pressure similar to that of a car crash. This was one of the first major events that sparked widespread interest in these creatures. While most of the descriptions of this creature vary depending on its height, most put it at somewhere between 6 to 9 feet tall, so similar in size to that of Bigfoot. I don't think there's enough evidence to say that the Yeti could pose a bigger threat than that of Sasquatch, so I'm going to throw it in the very dangerous tier, as it would definitely pose a threat to any human or group who encountered it. But it has no feats or powers similar to that of the Jersey Devil, who managed to shrug off a cannonball. The Loch Ness Monster, also known as Nessie, originated from Scottish folklore. According to legend, the beast was first witnessed attacking a man in the River Ness. The beast eventually released the man after an Irish saint made the symbol of the cross and demanded that the creature remove the man from its mouth. Fast forward to 1933, when a newspaper company called the Inverness Courier posted an article describing an enormous whale-like creature that churned beneath the depths of Lake Ness, Scotland. The most famous piece of evidence for the Loch Ness Monster would come in 1934. It's believed that a man named Robert Kenneth Wilson would snap this photo. For years it's been heavily debated. Some critics say that the picture is simply a piece of driftwood or an elephant's trunk. In 1954, a sonar reading of Lake Ness would pick up a large object keeping pace with their boat about 500 feet below. The beast's physical appearance draws a lot of similarities to the Plesiosaurus, a marine reptile that lived up until the end of the Cretaceous period, roughly 66 million years ago. Using this reptile's estimated abilities, we can draw some conclusions as to how powerful the Loch Ness Monster might be. The plesiosaur was estimated to have a bite force of around 33,000 psi per square inch. To put that in perspective, that's 10 times stronger than the saltwater crocodile, Earth's current strongest living bite. So if the Loch Ness Monster does exist, there's no doubt that it could do some serious damage if it were to get a hold of you. Nessie's size has also been incredibly variable depending on the source. So let's use the plesiosaur's size. That would put it at a length of around 15 feet and a weight of over 1,000 pounds, making it easily the biggest cryptid on this list so far. I'm going to be throwing the Loch Ness Monster into the very dangerous tier, as the fact that it's limited to water makes it relatively easy to avoid, and the idea that his jaws could literally tear someone limb from limb makes it well deserving of the second highest tier. Other creatures like the Jersey Devil, which could attack you from any location, make it a bit more dangerous in my opinion. The Wendigo is a creature originated from the Algonquian folklore. The descriptions of this creature depend on the region, but there are a few ideas that are consistent throughout. They're cannibalistic, evil, and state that human beings could be turned into a Wendigo if they participated in cannibalism. This idea held true throughout Algonquian cultures, that even in desperate situations, one must never resort to cannibalism. The most famous Wendigo story comes from the Cree people, an indigenous group primarily located in Canada and small parts of the US. According to sources, there was a Cree man named Swift Runner who was renowned for his giant size. He was a gifted trapper and father of 6 children. However, over time, Swift Runner's mind began to change. He began to down alcohol more and more. His mindset shifted, and while he was once a wise and well-regarded man, he had now turned into a violent drunk. His actions forced him to be kicked out of the tribe. Then winter came for his family, and his trapping skills were no longer in use, as alcohol made it nearly impossible for him to be productive. This led Swift Runner to eat his family over the winter. When the police discovered the remains of his family, he attempted to defend himself by saying a Wendigo spirit had overtaken his body during the winter, causing him to kill his family. This defense obviously did not work, and Swift Runner was eventually sentenced to death by hanging. While Wendigos have changed so much over the years of their rumored existence, I'm going to be basing this one off of the most recent and widespread description we have of Wendigos. They supposedly possess superhuman-like strength and are easily able to rip a human limb from limb. They also harness incredibly fast reflexes and speed. The actual process of killing a Wendigo varies across cultures. Some say you require a shaman to subdue them. Others say you need to cut out its heart and burn it in a fire. Either way, it's clear that the process of killing them is very difficult. It can also grow up to 15 feet in height, making it tower over other cryptids like Bigfoot and Skunk Ape. All these things considered, I think it's clear that the Wendigo definitely deserves to be put into the maximum danger tier. The legend of the Skinwalker originated from the Navajo, a group of indigenous people in the areas of present-day Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. It's said that skinwalkers are a type of witch that possess the ability to transform into any animal. Most commonly, they are portrayed as wolves, coyotes, owls, and crows. According to legend, skinwalkers look normal, all things considered, but have an awkward, almost otherworldly manner to them. They seem as if they're almost uncomfortable in their own skin. They are malevolent in nature and typically require the sacrifice of other humans to gain the ability to transform. While there's not enough evidence out there to assume that skinwalkers possess much power other than the ability to transform into animals, I still believe this cryptid belongs in the maximum danger tier. While it's unlikely they could outmatch a Wendigo or even a Bigfoot in a one-on-one fight, I believe that the idea that it retains its human intelligence gives it the edge to outsmart and outstrategize foes. Add in the fact that it can easily disguise itself, if need be, or even turn it into an animal to fight. That's my list. Let me know if you agree with it or if you hated it down in the comments below. I know this video is a little bit of a deviation from my typical content, so let me know if you want to see more videos like this one. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and leaving a like. I cover all sorts of unsolved mysteries and dark stories. We're about to hit 300 subs as of the time of this recording, and I can't thank all of you enough for the support. Have a great day. Goodbye.